No.
100%.
We don't want to see Bulldog Brenda.
All right, so we're going to start. We got to go in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome, everybody, to Tabletop Blacksmith. We have Brenda and Porrick Mulgrew. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourselves?
First, I have to applaud you for saying my name right. That's awesome. Well done. Well done.
Yeah. I had to. So on your Facebook page, it does have the pronunciation of the name.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. I had a rough childhood with that one.
All right, tell us about yourselves.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's hear it.
My name is Porrick Mulgrew, and I'm a gamer and part store owner of Night Watch Games. Brenda is my wife, and she's the other half. Actually, I'm probably 49%. She's 51.
Yeah, she has to have the controlling majority.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's like 70-30 in my household.
Yeah.
80-20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Brenda, what about you?
Also a gamer. Less time, though, as Porrick. I mean, I've been gaming less, than he has. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting this out already.
Oh, you're good.
I've been gaming for a less amount of time than he has.
Yeah.
Not as long as he has.
Sure.
But in the last 10 years, it's pretty much been nonstop.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, where are you guys from?
San Antonio, both of us.
Yeah, we're natives.
Born and raised.
We grew up here, and we met at a place called Castle Golf and Games, which was a putt-putt golf and mini boat kind of adventure center. And we were just young kids. I think I was 23 and you
I
were...
was 17.
Yeah. So, like 4 or 5 years ago?
It
Yeah.
seemed that way,
Yeah, at least. About 6 now.
Yeah, but we dated then.
Yeah.
That was just a little summer romance, and then 15 years passed. Both of us had a marriage, both of us had a divorce, and we found each other again and got married about 6 months after we started dating.
Oh, that is awesome. So, how did you guys find each other again?
The internet.
Oh.
That was...
What
It's kind of
service?
interesting. Yeah, I was in the Army, and Army was driving me a little bit crazy, and I was spending a lot of my downtime on Facebook and trying to, make a network of support and all this kind of stuff. And I got this message from Brenda saying, "Hey, do you remember me?" And long story short, we started talking, and that turned into sort of distance dating. And then she came out to Georgia, and we sort of lived together for a little while. And marriage was just it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that when you're at the age that we were, you don't have to do a lot of that dating stuff.
Yep.
You just
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And
And you already had a practice marriage. And
yeah. And,
We knew what we didn't want.
yeah.
Just talk about it. No more so.
Really
So, you guys moved back down to San Antonio when? What year?
That was 2000.
4, I believe.
No, it was later than that.
Wow.
This is 19. We've been here 4 years.
We've been here 4 years, and we've been married 10.
But
So
we
you're right, it was
moved to San-
2009. You're right. I was here the whole time,
Yeah.
actually. I was a restaurant manager for Bill Miller Barbecue,
Oh, yeah.
all right. Yeah.
and then worked at the main office for 15 years.
Yeah.
So that was my full career as an adult was with
Yeah.
that company.
Oh, wow.
Great company.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How-
They're not going
I
anywhere.
would be, I'm not kidding, I would be 900 pounds. Like, I could eat so much. You can't get, it's the keto diet. You can't get fat
It's the key.
off a brisket. Well, watch me.
We have proven that to be not true
Yeah.
by Bill Merrill.
I've had a key taped to my toe for a long time, and I haven't lost anything.
Oh, really?
So I don't know what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Welcome
So-
to my world.
This is now, okay, so you guys get together. When do you decide? Oh, and you have 2 kids?
Yep, that's Mishra and Urza. That's our fur babies, as some people call them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is mostly Brenda's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That is so not true.
Yeah. The story starts that I was being deployed to Iraq while I was in
Yeah.
the Army, and I wanted to give her something to sort of distract her from the separation, and so I got her a little Malamute
Yeah,
mix puppy. And little did we know that little puppy was going to grow up into a big old
Wolf dog.
larger
yeah,
than
yeah.
most children.
yeah.
He's knocked over, like, one of the tails knocked over one of my kids. One of my
Yeah.
kids are skinny. And
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Well, yeah. That's what we do with shoplifters. Is we
Yeah.
just feed them to the dogs.
I mean,
But I had
obviously.
just come off a full career, so I was decompressing. I really didn't know what to do with myself, so I
Yeah.
started going to college, started volunteering at the military welfare recreation center,
Yeah.
and started raising up this wolf dog, and it just opened a place in my heart that I did not know existed.
Yeah.
The love of animals and dogs.
Well, when did Baby 2 come on? I thought they came as a pair.
No. We had
They
years.
came all
It
at
was
once.
3
No,
years.
I no longer feel sorry for you.
Yeah, by choice.
Yeah, it
How
was
was 3 years later?
3 years later,
Yeah.
we were at another duty station in Arizona, and there was to make a long story short, there was a hoarding situation, and the dogs all needed to be rescued.
Aw.
So we just did our part and took one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of dog, right?
Well, one's a woolly coat Siberian Husky. And the funny thing about that is when Huskies are bred, they're usually bred for snow sledding and whatnot. But he's got a sort of recessive gene that makes him defunct. His hair's too long. So the snow clumps into the hair
Super-
Oh,
is
I've
it
seen
hippie?
that.
and slows him down. So breeders don't want woolly coat Siberian
Really?
Huskies. So he was sort of like, a reject. And we
Uh-huh.
thought, well, we can identify with that. So let's take him on.
We always go for the underdog.
So I think that, and if anybody just is listening to the podcast, imagine like White Fang if he was on steroids.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they look
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
And I've never heard them bark. I've heard one go,
Yeah.
and somebody tried to pet him when he was laying down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, great dogs.
Yep.
Shock dogs.
No, so
Shop dogs.
your military service, Pork, were you in for the full 20 or did you?
No, I joined at the late age of 37.
Oh, all
yeah,
right.
which I don't recommend for anybody.
Basic military training.
Yeah, it was quite the ride. It was during the surge. We were in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and the news clips were just full of stories of all the bad things happening.
Right.
And I play a lot of airsoft in my off time, and so I knew what it was like to shoot, move, and communicate and lead people. And I thought, well, I should join up and maybe try to make a difference, a small difference, bring the sons and daughters home safely. And I was very naive when I joined up at 37, and the recruiter said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, Special Forces, of course. And she just smiled and said, well, you need to join the infantry and then volunteer in all the schools, and you'll find yourself in Special Forces. And she knew I was 37, and that was not going to happen.
Physical limitations.
Oh my
so-
gosh, it was
course.
impressive. Not on my part, but what Army soldiers do on a daily basis is really something that opened my eyes up. And I lasted for about 2 years in the infantry, and then my executive officer realized I was, twice as old as my commander, and sort of asked the question, "What are you doing here, old man?" And so I told him my story, and he said, well, you need to commission, for one. You've got a degree, so go ahead and commission, and let's put you in some other military intelligence school or something.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened, and I thought that was going to be the saving grace of me in the Army, and I just realized the Army wasn't for me. I'm sort of more of a free spirit and a little loosey-goosey and a type B personality, and the Army, you got to worry about your procedures and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yes.
So I stayed in for about 8 years, did some crazy stuff. Was deployed to Iraq, then deployed over to Africa, stationed in Germany for a while.
Where in Africa can you say?
Yeah, it was in Chad.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the big news item of Boko Haram kidnapping people.
yes.
Yeah, that was me trying to solve that problem.
Oh my
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anybody who
Absolutely.
does that allows us to make podcasts. So thank you.
There's that. Yeah, we're not speaking
100%.
other languages.
Yeah.
But that really brings us into how Night Watch Games came about.
Okay.
Was we were Skyping in Africa, and she was in Germany, and we really came to that conclusion of not enjoying that separation. And while technology has done a great deal of letting people communicate across the world,
Right.
that's
Making the
not-
world smaller.
We were still newly married too, and
Yeah.
it's like, what are we doing? Why
Yeah.
are we
Yeah.
here?
So we reevaluated it, and I really came to the conclusion that I had done everything I'd wanted to do in the Army. We had pulled out of Iraq, so that purpose was done. I could check the box. And we got to travel a little bit, but that adventure bug sort of was satisfied for a little while. And so the big question was what to do if we get out. And my answer was, well, I could do more of the same, join the FBI or the CIA or reserves or something. And she said, no. What did you say?
I said, you are not going to be happy in a 3-letter agency or another place like this. So I said, we need to find something to do where we can be together. We can bring the dogs with us.
Yeah.
We can, just enjoy our hobbies and things like that. And he was educated. I had we both have education. We both have life
Careers,
experience, careers. So I said, what about that hobby shop you've always wanted to open?
Yeah.
And he said, no, that's a pipe dream.
So, well, and then let's talk about that, because I'm a business person, right? And so I've done the numbers every way. Benji and I have talked about doing the same thing, and you're just like, how do people, like, I can't eat air, so how do you do this?
Not yet.
Yeah.
We don't have the
When I came
technology.
here the first time, I'm like, maybe they live upstairs. Maybe this is their dining room. I don't know how this works, but somehow they're making it work.
There's a little bit of all of that.
Yeah.
One of the things that we realized was if we were going to do it, it has to be an all-in thing.
100%.
Yeah. So you're literally looking at our dining room table.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought everything that we own into the company, and we either converted it into equity by equipping the store with it, or we're using it in some way to add value, or we sold some stuff. But the majority of it, I'd say 90% of it, is now the store.
Yep.
And that does a couple of things. One, it makes the store feel like home to us.
Yep.
As we're sitting here, I feel like I'm in my living room, not in some place of business. But two, it also transfers that feeling onto the customer, that they're now in somebody's home, and they behave differently. And that's the tip of the iceberg of how Nightwatch Games has fostered a totally different approach to what it is to be a game store in today's society and what it means to be a gamer in today's society. And I think, humbleness aside, I think we're just setting a new standard.
Oh, without question.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So definitely, you don't have this like strip mall retail feel. You don't have a sterile warehouse like drop ceiling feel, right?
Right.
It feels. I mean, I've been in hundreds of game stores. I've traveled, and honestly, it is the only one where I'm like, oh, I'm totally cool here. Not to mention, I mean, I met both. I think I met you first, and then you guys were both super cool. And I didn't know you were the owners. I had no idea. Super nice
exactly.
people.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to say also, like other game stores that I've been to, it does have that feel where mostly, it looks like folding tables and plastic chairs and everything. And when we come in here, I was completely floored by walking in and seeing like what you would expect from a medieval tavern. I think.
Yeah.
I walked in and I was, oh my gosh, there are heads of monsters mounted on the walls.
And you guys are hiring for a tavern wench, right? Right now.
Yes,
Volunteer.
and that is the official title.
Yes.
It is a tavern
Yeah.
wench.
Yes. So I want to get back to how you guys started, because that I think is everybody is fascinated. Everybody who likes gaming and is the slightest bit disenchanted with their life or their career thinks, you know what I do like doing every day, and I talk about it all the time, is open a game store, open a comic store, right? Open something like that.
Yeah.
So, but before we get back down to that topic, talk to us about what a gamer means to you guys, who you guys serve, who your client is, the products you provide.
Bren, you want that one?
As far as the products we provide, I can definitely hit on that. I think Pork is a little more eloquent than I when talking about the sort of the metaphysical Nightwatch games. So I'll hand that to you in a minute. The products we sell are very basically the tabletop games.
Analog games.
Yeah,
Yep.
board games, skirmish games, miniature games, of course, mass battle games, role-playing games, card games, both collectible and non, and then game accessories, impulse buys like little pins and things.
Yep.
One
Dice.
thing that's
So much
Necessity
dice.
buys like dice.
you would be shocked at how many dice we sell. We still are.
Yeah.
But and then one of the things that sets us apart from other game stores, I think everywhere, is that we have a little boutique in the store where we sell LARP gear. So Renaissance dresses, canvas shirts, medieval pants, everything except for the shoes.
Yeah.
Plate mail.
Yeah.
Plate mail, chainmail, leather armor. There's a
Swords.
mannequin to my right here. Yeah.
Yeah. I always wondered if it's like, you need a different license to sell guns. Like, do you need them to sell gargantuan swords?
Not replica weapons. If they were full-tang sharpened blades, yes.
Yeah.
But we didn't even want to go into
Yeah.
that.
Hassle with
No,
that.
this is replica. This is for fun.
Sure.
I've got a life wish list, bucket list check where I can actually go up to somebody and say, yeah, I'm an international arms dealer.
Wow, you really are.
I just need to. We need to bring in that one listener from Australia. And then you're technically
Yeah,
international.
and we've actually shipped some of our products out, so we're exporter.
Import exporters.
So give us your website. We'll probably ask you a couple of
Art
times.
Vandalay Industries.
It's www.nightwatchgames.com.
Perfect. Go there, check it out, buy some stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I'll drop the link in our
analog
description.
games. I would say at least 50% of your floor space is dedicated to gaming.
Surprisingly, that's one of the things that changes our store model, is that we've dedicated a lot more space to playing the games than selling the games.
Yeah.
We realized at the very beginning when we opened the store was if you're just going to be a retail store, you're now in competition directly with Amazon.
Yep.
And you will not win that game. They've got it.
Speed, pricing,
yeah.
everything.
Everything that a customer is looking for from
I have to
purchasing.
put on pants.
Right, yeah. Instead,
You do need to wear pants. You can shop at your website online without pants.
True.
If you come in, pants.
Well, or a kilt, we're okay
kilt.
with that
Yeah,
too.
okay, great.
Yeah. So we realized that we had to offer something that Amazon does not, and that's space and a quality of space, so that when you're in the space, you're still in the game. The reality of the world has left at the front door, and you're able to distance yourself from all the stresses that games are designed for you to escape with. And we wanted the setting to help with that, so that while you are gaming and it's not your turn, you look up from the board and you're still in the game.
Yep.
Right? There's nothing modern around you that says, "Oh, you owe taxes," or "You got to go to work." There's none of that. So Amazon doesn't let you do that. The other thing Amazon doesn't let you do is network with a whole bunch of people that speak the same language, have the same interests, generally are the same age. All those things are community-driven things, and while that seems to be the buzzword in local stores, again, I don't think that they're pursuing it in the right way, because they're not serving the demographic that I think I want to come to is what's a gamer, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you had asked us that 20 years ago, you'd get a very different answer.
Yes.
A gamer was, your basement dweller who was playing Dungeons and Dragons during the Satanic Scare, and they were
Way to go, Tom Hanks.
Yeah, there you go. Messed us up.
And now everyone's disappointed because none of that was actually real.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. We're looking for Beelzebub. How do I get that guy?
I know some guys.
I just,
So keep going.
Yeah.
So that was what the gamer was 20, 30 years ago.
Now it's a mainstream thing. You've got mass media, and the entertainment industry has done a great job of breaking that wall down. So you have Game of Thrones and Star Wars and
Well, I think it started with
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the
Yep.
Rings.
Yeah, so I was in Ukraine, totally oblivious to everything, and I came back and I'm like, where'd all these nerds come from?
Yeah.
I was like, why is everybody dressed up like elves?
and they're like,
And
do
then
they,
Marvel and
Gandalf?
DC, the comic book crossover.
Yep.
It's a good time to be a geek.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. So one of the things I for sure wanted to touch on was I was shocked, right? So you're watching Critical Role, blah, blah, blah. Oh, check out Eldritch Foundry. I gotta do this while I do the rest of their announcements. And I'm all scrolling, like, man, these things are awesome. This is way cooler than Hero Forge. And I will stand by that. It is way cooler than Hero Forge.
Yes.
So I'm scrolling down, and I'm like, what the? I know them. I know Night's Watch Games. How did you guys get involved with that? And it is insane. I think, in my opinion, humble opinion, you've got this Oprah effect with
Critical
non-cool
Role.
stuff.
Oh.
And then you've got Critical Role effect.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And they have way surpassed
Yeah. Yeah.
their Kickstarter goal.
Absolutely.
So how'd you guys get started with that?
It was during around Gamma time.
PAX actually is when you met them.
That's right. It was PAX.
PAX 2018.
Oh, they were at PAX.
They were at
Yeah.
PAX.
We were there and we didn't even see them.
Yeah, Eldritch Foundry, the two founders had come from Israel and were doing the tour, and they came through PAX, and they were discussing their company and their ideas with a lot of the people around PAX, everybody from game designers to producers, distributors, and then also the retail stores. And then they went ahead and did a tour of the stores around San Antonio, and when they got to San Antonio, or when they got to Night Watch Games, they introduced themselves to me. And they said, we just came from PAX. And we've been talking to everybody. And there's been one commonality to all the conversations that we've had. And that's Night Watch Games.
Yeah.
And I went, really? He said, literally, everybody, from distributors down to your competition, talk about you. I said, well, I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna
welcome.
say, a lot of people talk about me, but yeah, it ain't something to brag about.
Yeah, we have made a splash, I think that most people didn't really predict. And so when Eldritch Foundry was talking about their ideas, and they have a very similar mindset of, let's not look at convention. Let's do something that is boundary breaking and think outside the box. And so we really applauded that. And they had business sense, they got a good idea, and we connected on a way that I don't think a lot of people seem to connect. And so we not only are going to support them through the Kickstarter, but we've actually invested in the company.
Nice.
So we're shareholders, which we're pretty excited about because, shareholders sounds awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds like an adult thing to be.
Yeah, it does sound very adult. That I will admit.
Yeah,
I have
responsibility.
never been a shareholder. So when they had the, oh man, I forgot what I was going to say, but their entire, that was it. When I was watching their video online of the Kickstarter, everything, one of the things that jumped out to me that's completely different from other companies like Hero Forge, where they're just, hey, we're trying to mass produce these models that we already have these designs for. One of the big things was they wanted to make sure that they were supporting local game stores by offering free shipping to your game store. So, hey, let's get your people, your players, your local players into the game stores again, which is, again, that's completely different than online sales.
Yeah.
It's so much more than shipping too. I don't know if you realized or if you saw, they are actually creating a kiosk that will be located right here in the store.
I did not know
I did know that, and I am obsessed with. They are genuine. A lot of people say this, especially in the comic book. Go support your local comic book industry, right? Blah blah blah. You can go get the books and the products and the games so much cheaper everywhere. People, eBay or wherever. And here's the problem, right? And this is the thing with you got video games and you got people who are connected. That's great, right? That next level is us getting around a table and laughing and forgetting about all that nonsense of life. And it could be a bad, annoying boss. It could be a sick relative. It could be you lost your dog. You should be out looking for your dog, not playing games. But it's that stuff.
But if you lost,
if you lost your dog,
right.
yes, then you've got this group of people, and this is what I love about this store in particular, Matt's Watch Games, is you guys can come in. I've watched people who you can watch two people come together, and you can tell they do not know each other. Hey, you want to play this game or that game? Or, yeah, sure. They get together and they play.
Even in our weekly D&D games, there was just someone who was here visiting from out of town, and he said, "Hey, I have a character. Can I join your game?" I was like, "Is that all right with you guys?"
Yeah.
Here's the key to what changes there. Back 20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened because you wouldn't want to approach the gamer.
Yeah.
Right.
Scary
right.
people. But now what you're seeing is normal people playing the games, and there's no distance between the demographic of a non-gamer and the gamer now.
Yeah.
That distance is very small, so the approachability of that is so accessible. And I think that's one of the things that we're doing really well that I wish other stores would do, is serve as a gateway to convert non-gamers into gamers.
Yes.
And so when you walk into a space like Nightwatch Games, a non-gamer is going to see, wow, this is like Game of Thrones,
Right,
hopefully, Jon Snow's around. Where is he?
Yeah.
And they take that second step in, which
He's working the register.
that's me. And then they take that second step and they start looking at products in a way that they wouldn't have before because they're a little more open than they would have been. And then the third step is they look at the tables in the community and they start recognizing their peers.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's a lawyer from down the street, or there's the dentist, or whatever. It's normal people playing games now. And so they build those connections, and of course, Brenda and I descend on them and try to make them feel
At home.
as much as possible. And the demographic and all the stereotypes that they were worried about don't exist now.
Yep.
And as a store, we're benefiting from that conversion. And people come out of our store as a gamer, and it's just exploding. The whole industry is exploding. And I think ambiance, good customer service, and community building.
Great variety of games. I mean, there is not a book that comes out that you guys. I'm so obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons since I was a kid. Even during the dark 4th E, like 4E. Like,
sure.
That's where I started,
But,
actually.
yeah.
It's like the first marriage.
Born in darkness. Oh yeah. So
gotta find out
but
what you
I
don't
played like. Well, I started playing in 2E, but I played 1E because I couldn't afford the 2E books. So I bought the 1E books at half-price books, And anyway, it was kind of one of those things that exactly like what you said, right? You've got these people who are like, oh, if they're not their peers, if they're people who they want to be peers with. And this isn't like anybody who is listening to podcasts. This isn't like your folding card table, plastic picnic table place. These are like solid oak, thick 4-inch slab, 40-foot long,
right?
Like
hand carved from a single tree.
Yeah, like, they're amazing. It's a really wonderful place to play, and you have people who are really competitive. And I've heard people like, oh god, mad at I can't remember the big Star Wars game right now.
Legion.
Yeah. And I've heard people lose their minds here, and then within, it's always measured.
In a classy way.
Yeah, in a classy way.
Yeah.
Versus, and then I've played D&D here at this, and I have had some of the best times playing Dungeons and Dragons. And that's what's awesome is you have, with role-playing games, beyond just being quiet, right? You need a space to role-play. And you can't have people walking by and distracting you. And so you guys have, there are 2 rooms and kind of like a back little alcove.
Star Wars.
I've played all of those in all those places. They're all great.
Well, and even in the Grand Hall, which is our main table area, you'll notice that unlike almost every other store, there aren't products on the other side of them. And there aren't products even near the tables. And the tables themselves are wide and apart from each other.
Yep.
And traditionally at a game store, you get a 2-foot space in front of you when you sit down. Here you get 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
That was all done on purpose.
Yeah.
So that when you are over there, the shoppers aren't right behind you.
Yep.
The person that's sitting next to you is not elbow to elbow with you. We created sort of a European style table setting where you are forced to sit down next to a person, but within a comfortable distance.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, we're sitting here in the game room, and I've played in the Renaissance room before. What's the other room called?
The Dark Ages room.
The Dark Ages. So I played in both of them. And what's funny is, like, you would expect, because it's very expensive from a business standpoint to be like, you have how many square feet that's not got product in it?
Yeah.
Right? The only product, I mean, I've played with half of those things on that shelf, and they're just for you borrow them. You want a dice trick, a dice castle, or some setting terrain. It's all here.
Yeah.
You've got it hooked up to Alexa. Well, why don't you guys talk?
Sure.
What about like these gamers so that you can stream from them?
Yeah, we have a couple of things.
Shut up, Alexa.
Yeah, Alexa's
Sorry.
in on the conversation
Yeah.
now.
Always listening.
So we realized that gamers, again, 20 years ago, would not pay for play space.
Yep.
They have the basement. They're good with that. They have theater of the mind. They don't need a lot of technology. But that's 20 years ago. This is a whole new demographic. And as we're saying, we're converting non-gamers into gamers. And when they come into a private room and you tell them that you have one dedicated air conditioning for just the room, so it's comfortable.
Yep.
You have a refrigerator that's empty and cold and waiting for them to populate that with their food and drinks. You have a fog machine.
Yeah.
The fog machine.
A fog machine, yeah.
Yes.
We have an iPad that is mirrored up to a TV. Those of you that are watching, that's the TV behind us. And the iPad mirrors up to that. So you have access to all the online tools that you could imagine. Of course, Internet Explorer. But we also have a program that controls the lights. It's called Hue Lights. And with actually Alexa can do it too. You just say a command and the lights will change colors.
Yeah. You're hooked up for music. We use music in our games a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Soundtrack.
So you also have ambient sound effects that you can have with the program. So it's very easy to convert this private game space into the exact mood that you want for role-playing games. And the big question...
And you can shift it during the game. In the dungeon, and now we're talking to the king, and now we're in the tavern. And it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Push of a button, you can change the color of the lights, the ambient sound. It's really like being the puppeteer behind a theater and being able to make the stage look the way you want.
Yep.
And that's the thing that modern gamers really appreciate, whereas 20 years ago, they didn't need that.
Yeah.
So our contemporaries sort of laughed at us when we said we were going to charge for playing space in a private room. They said, well, that's going to fail.
Yep.
The answer is no, it doesn't fail. It's a high demand item.
Hundreds of dollars to rent your spaces.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Personally.
valuable.
Weekly.
Yeah.
They're booked on a weekly basis and weeks out.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think what is amazing is that what that creates with, like when I don't game here, I get bummed out, right? Like I was in Benji's group, we always gamed here, and then people do life, and so the group goes apart, and so I start gaming with a group in Austin, right? And now I'm sitting here thinking, I gotta get rid of this group, and I gotta start because this is such a great space.
Do you not like fluorescent lights and fold-out tables and creaky chairs?
I do not. I do not like those things, and so I miss the nostalgia associated with this because it feels like home, and I'd never realized that before.
Yeah.
But and tons of plugs. If you wanted to stream a game, which is huge right now, you could do it here on a level and to a quality that you would be hard pressed to do at your own house, even.
Now, for people who are using the room, you guys have Wi-Fi and things available for
We do,
these?
yeah. We have 2 channels that are open to the public. We also have sort of what we call the infrastructure channel of Nightwatch Games, which powers all our own software and whatnot.
Sure.
So for people that are looking for like a really official upload, we can work out a deal where you get into that inner network with really reliable high-speed uploads. And
Well, and the iPads are connected to that high-speed internet. So your own personal device might be on a Time Warner Cable hotspot, but if you're using our equipment to stream, to do anything like that, it's already connected to our internet.
Yep, I've used it before on a different game. When I came by here off random, I didn't play with Benji. He's gonna get really offended.
First of all, how dare you?
Yeah, but it was super fast. I was really impressed. Yeah, it was good. So anyway, I can't say enough. Now, so your big award.
Oh,
Yes.
You've already
you,
told
Brent.
me twice what the title was, but it
That's
is
Okay.
in all of all of America, right? So you got Canada, North America,
Mexico,
United States. You guys are
The best outstanding store. So that doesn't sound like much, but
the best outstanding
store. Yes. So here's how that went down. So GAMA, which is the Game and Manufacturers Association, who are sort of the governing body for hobby and retail stores, to the point that they're actually about to start offering 401k options for us and health insurance. They're sort of becoming our union without being a union, but it's getting there. Anyway, so they have a yearly trade show in Reno, Nevada, and it's a week long, and you can go there and take lectures and learn more about what it means to be a game store owner. They even invite people that are looking to become game store owners.
Yep.
That's a great way for people to learn if they even want to get into this industry.
Oh,
And
it's not required, but huge.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. It's like if you were going to sell comic books, well, you need an account with Diamond Distribution.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you need, unlike this, you have to pay to play with Diamond. With Gamma, you pay, but it's a non-profit. I think
It's
you
a
do it,
yearly. You have a yearly membership. It's like $250 a year, but you get back that and more in value.
Oh, easily.
You really do. So beyond going into what they offer, because you can look that up on the internet, they have this yearly trade show, and on the first night, or I think it's the first night where we're all together, they have an award ceremony. And so you're allowed to submit entries for who you would like to be nominated for. Nominations. That's the word I was looking for. And the categories this year, and I think every year, were best marketing from a store, best organized play, and best store design. So of course we nominated ourselves for best store design.
Sure.
And we actually, I guess we made the nomination, and we were in the little booklet. So I was there by myself because at that point we didn't have the ability for us both to be gone. So I'm sitting in the award show, and best outstanding store, or excuse me, all the different nominations came and went, and we didn't get it. So I was texting for it. I was like, oh, that sucks. We didn't get it. And they said, and now for the final award, best overall store in North America, Nightwatch Games. I was like, oh, delete.
That is. Did you lose your mind?
I was in shock.
What a stamp of validation.
I didn't even know we
by
were on
your
their
peers.
radar.
Yeah.
I thought we just nominated ourselves. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, we made it in the magazine, the little pamphlet that you
everybody
get,
votes
you
for
know.
themselves.
So to make it even better,
Yeah.
so I get on up there, and the lady that's handing out the award sort of puts her hand over the microphone, and she said, "This was unanimous. That never happens." Oh, that made me feel so good.
Yeah,
That's
didn't
amazing.
cry at all.
No, I'm not a crier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
But so everybody else that had come up and accepted their award for best marketing and organized play and store design just sort of waved it in the air and said thanks and walked away.
Yeah.
I thought, oh hell no.
Yeah.
Right.
They're gonna have to play me off of this stage. Let me hear the Oscar music.
So yeah, I said, well, can I say a few words? And she
Yeah.
said, oh, please do. And so I was up there for, I don't know, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But just said, this is what we're about. And I wish Pork was here because this is his dream and his vision, more
Yeah.
importantly, and it has become everything to me as well. But this was your pipe dream, and
Yeah.
not many people get to live out their pipe dream.
Nope.
So, but yeah, I wish he had been there to accept that, but also said not to worry because next year when, we are giving this award to the next winner, I'll just give it to him.
That's awesome.
There you go.
So that's a huge deal,
Yeah.
right? So do you feel like it was, do you feel like it was hard work, good idea, solid execution, maxing out your credit cards for funding, or do you feel like it was luck?
Well, I can tell you that immediately after I stepped off the stage, and after the award ceremony had finished, several of the people from the board came over to talk to me.
Yeah.
And they said, we just wanted to tell you that for these reasons, you won that award.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, one of them was ambiance.
Yep.
Pork hit that one out of the park.
Yep.
He did all the decorating. He did all of that. They said, you hit it out of the park. And then they said, your community building. We looked at your Facebook pages. And there isn't an hour that goes by where one of your customers isn't posting on Facebook something
Right.
valid. It's not a meme. It's,
Yeah.
hey, who wants to meet me at this store,
Yep.
at your store to play a game. He said, and then you had a video walkthrough, a virtual tour, an interactive virtual tour. And he said, we got to actually walk your shelves.
Yep.
And he said, you have the most beautiful inventory.
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, just pointed at the top of my head. I was like, I'll take that one.
Yeah. Well, and it's like your dice. They're not in a little plastic bin. They're like in a apothecary. Like,
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
tried to be consistent with the feel. But what Brenda's alluding to here is, and to answer your question, is the approach that we've adopted, which was inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk, who
Yep.
He's got some really good words of wisdom.
He's kind of the consultant for people who want to start their own game shop.
The entrepreneurial,
Yep.
big risk, big rewards, and just follow your dream. He's all pro that. But one of the things he talks about is needing two elements. One is the clouds, and the other one is the dirt. And the clouds to him is the idea person who has the big vision, is thinking far ahead, and can see things from the creative point of view. And then you have the person that's the dirt, and that's the person that takes care of that daily grind of crunching numbers, doing inventory, managing the staff, and all the kind of no fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Brenda is the dirt, and she's excellent at
Yeah.
it.
If
And
you ever
Pork is
divorce,
the
if
clouds.
you ever divorce Brenda, I will be your dirt.
Yeah.
Just FYI. Yeah. Or if you ever get into a polyamorous situation,
Right.
give me a
Well,
buzz.
the good news is people that are the dirt find the dirt fun.
Oh, I love it.
So
yeah.
you say it's not fun, but I think it's a blast.
Yeah, well, she does a really good job of it, and again, she's doing stuff that most normal game store owners don't seem to consider. She's really progressive with how she buys the products, what products to buy, what kind of research she's doing to find out what's good and what's hot and what's not, and just tons of stuff that I am not very good at.
And how do you do that? Because twice for sure I thought, man, they should really carry X, and I'll come in 2 weeks later. I'm like, I'll be dang. But twice that's happened. Or it would be really helpful here if they had like something with like for airbrush, And I'm like, look at that, look at all the airbrush stuff. How do you do that?
Magic.
Magic, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
She's on the Amazon spy team, and she's
So
constantly
one thing
listening.
I do is I actually read all of the emails that the distributors send to us.
Ooh.
All of those solicitation
Industry
emails
secret.
that you
Read
just
your email.
delete.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If you read them,
Yeah.
there is a lot of really good information in them.
Yeah.
The other thing I do is I don't settle for the middleman.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get something from you at $10, I'm going to go find out where you get it and buy it direct from them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it increases our profit margin in that way.
Yeah.
And it's really not hard.
Mr. Miller of BQ Miller,
Yes.
right? So I had a meeting with him about a real estate thing one time, and he was like, "I don't sell barbecue. I sell sweet tea. I don't make any money on barbecue."
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Margins
right.
on sweet tea must be
It's so
stellar.
true. And I have to
Yeah.
admit, I learned a lot of my business savvy. It comes from those boys.
Yeah.
Those three boys, Doug, John, and Bayless.
Yep.
You know, they taught me everything I know about business and how to be a shrewd business person.
Well, and how critical is it? And that's an interesting parallel. How critical is it? It is so easy. The margins on food, I'm speaking as a business nerd, like a restaurant, very, very narrow. Very, I mean, razor thin. You can be black and red on a given day, right? And how well that carries over when you're trying to compete with, Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that Brenda does that she's not admitting to is she's got a really good ear for the community.
Yep.
And when the community is talking about what they want and what they're excited about, she listens and she'll immediately go research that idea and say, is this a feasible thing for the shelf? And 9 times out of 10, if there's a demand and you're the supplier, that's money.
Yep.
And she does that really well. It takes a lot of work. It takes conscientiousness and awareness and connections. And
Yeah.
I really wish other game stores would really increase that kind of relationship with their community, that the community is driving what happens within those walls instead of the game store thinking, he or she knows what's cool. I'm telling you, what's
Right.
cool here in Nightwatch Games is not very cool right across the street.
Yeah.
Right.
Or in Dallas or
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Or,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that the amount of work I was putting
Other
into-
than Magic the Gathering gaming.
There's a couple of staples.
Oh,
Yeah, that one's a foundation.
I had no
type
idea,
game.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that the amount of work that I was putting in to product development and product research was abnormal until I went to Gamma and
Yeah.
met some of the stores owners, and even store owners right here in town that have been in business for decades. Got into a casual conversation about how many distributors we have, and he said, "Well, how many accounts do you have?" I said, "Well, altogether about 40 people
Yeah.
that I buy from." And he said, "No, just distributors." I said, 6?
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I just have the one." I thought, how do you do it?
Yeah.
The problem is they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. They're
Well, and that probably comes from needing more than one place to get rolls from, or brisket, or
Yeah.
I can only imagine how much
Right.
that taught you from a business
Right.
standpoint.
Yeah.
I think there was a situation where I had bought from you guys. I had bought a water elemental mini, right? And he was it was one of the I don't know, it was a plastic one, but he came blue, right? So it wasn't just clear. And I was like, I really hate that this water elemental. This is a stupid story that you can cut out of the podcast. I don't care.
We're gonna cut all
it
of this
goes,
out.
It goes to it's just me go wah 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 anytime I talk. But I had bought this mini, and I hated the fact that it didn't have like water, like a foam. You know what I mean? Like you would see on a curling wave. And there were
Right.
so many. It was a great model, or a great sculpt. And so I went and I talked to you. I don't even know if you knew my name, but I was like, look, this is what I'm looking for. I have looked. I mean, Hobby Lobby, every single place that I could think of, and nobody has it. I was like, what do you guys? And I was at the point now. I was like, look, I heard about this thing. Guy uses baking soda and something else, and this is what he does.
The foam snow.
Yeah, and so you're like, look, I know about these couple of products. We don't carry them, but I have this. I don't remember what the product was you gave me.
It was foam snow.
It was, and so you're like, look, this is what we don't use it a ton, and it was from your personal stash.
It was back in our workshop.
Right? And you're like, we don't use it a ton. Take it. If you like it, I'll order it. I'll buy you some, And so I went home and I used it. I couldn't get it to work. I tried a couple of different things. That is a big, by the way, huge market opportunity for somebody out there listening. And it didn't do what I wanted. But I remember thinking, I was like, who else does that? right? She doesn't know who I am.
Right. Yeah.
And she gives me, out of her own little stash, this bottle of foam snow. Is like, hey, check this out, see if you like it. And if you don't, bring it back. If you love it, let me know and I'll buy it. I mean, that kind of service, for a guy who's been gaming his whole life and been in and around comic and gaming stores, even in Portland where it's a huge community, never had that kind of service. So well done.
We don't see it as service. We see it as a relationship.
Yeah.
And we had sort of this soft motto when we opened was Night Watch Games solves problems. And we see that when people come into the store, we assume you're coming in because you have a problem.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that problem is you want a product and you don't have it, and we happen to have the solution on our shelf. You buy it, you leave. We solved a problem.
Yeah.
But there's a big percentage of the remainder that have some very profound problems that we also wanted to address, and that is I don't have people to game with.
Yep.
I don't have the knowledge in which to game. I have social anxiety, so I need a space in which I feel safe. Then it gets really even into the dark realms of I have an abusive family, I have a bad relationship, or my girlfriend cheated on me, or whatever. All those things were the things that we were solving.
Yeah.
And we sort of became bartenders, the cheers without the beer kind of thing.
Yeah. But if you sold tacos, you guys would.
Oh, yeah, we tried.
That's true.
We got to wait until the dogs.
Yeah, we went through about a 6-month conversation with the health department.
Oh, really?
To try
Trying
to
to get this
but
done,
with
and
the
finally they
dogs.
said, "Look,
Oh, you were serious about the tacos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You would kill barbecue too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
I'm never touching barbecue again."
tacos.
No one can top Bill Miller's in my
Yeah,
book, so
yeah.
we're not going there. But essentially he said, "Look, you can either have a snack bar or you can have the dogs."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I choose the dogs."
Well, you guys do. I mean, you guys sell. I mean, there's some vending machines for sure.
Not
Which-
anymore.
Not anymore, yeah.
What?
Yeah, we took them out because we expanded our shelving.
Yeah.
Expecting to have a kitchen very soon.
Yeah, we thought it was going
Yeah.
to go into a Renaissance medieval cutlery that had this cool food, but the city put a kibosh
how
on
cool
that.
would that be?
Yeah,
I
we're
will
gonna
be
sell,
here
like, turkey
every day of my
legs
life.
I
and-
want meat pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turkey legs every
Yeah,
day.
Like soup in a bowl, in a bread
Yeah.
bowl kind of thing. Renaissance food.
For sure.
It was going to be cool, but that dream is not dead. We just have to wait until the dogs, shuffle off this
Naturally
mortar
expire.
coil.
Yeah.
Which is not going to be a great day, but it opens up opportunities.
So huge question then, right? So what is, you guys are killing it, right? You've only been open for a handful of years.
3.
You guys you've broken, I think 2 years is, it may be different in comics and game industries with the stores, the actual brick and mortar stores, but I know 2 years is a big deal. And then I think 5 years is the next big critical. I'm talking just from doing consulting and stuff in the past. 5 years is it. What do you guys, you're like, now you have to mess up, or the economy needs to tank, or you have to really make a bunch of bad decisions. What do you feel like is the next step for you guys?
Well, we talked about some kind of strange ideas like franchising, but I think that's really far in the future. We really are invested in that relationship that we, as Brendan Porrick, bring to the table.
Yeah.
And maybe we arrogantly think that can't get passed on through a franchise. But if we meet the right people that have the same philosophy and the same value set that we have, then we would probably be pretty excited about that. But we don't want to lose the intimacy that you get when you come into our store. It's still mom and poppy, and you don't feel like you're part of a corporate kind of setting. And we're not selling games; we're just making them available for you to buy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I think our immediate goals are, we just
Look, franchising is huge. Like, there are
Yeah.
so many people who tried to franchise before McDonald's, and every single one of them failed.
Yeah.
Every single one. And unfortunately, right? They've got to. You ever wondered or noticed how McDonald's banks on the world's best French fries because the hamburgers are marginal, right?
Yeah.
But they learned how to give the same hamburger. It's just not as good as you want, and so that's a scary thing. I think that's a big deal. I think. The other thing with you guys bringing games to people is space. There are people who are on the northwest side of San Antonio. Well, what about Alamo Heights? What about Terrell Hills? What about East San Antonio?
Yeah.
We're worth the drive.
Oh, 100%. Without question.
Yes.
Yeah, no question at all.
When I was running our group here, it didn't matter where any of the players were located. They were always going to come here.
You had guys traveling 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And not complaining about it. Just apologizing. Sorry, I couldn't get here quicker.
Yeah, exactly.
He had ADD, though. He could never show up on time anyway. It didn't matter.
Well, fortunately, in a large city, people are used to traveling for 45 minutes to do anything.
Yep.
So we don't really hear that complaint very much.
Yeah. So I think that's a great next step. I think, any kind of food, like if Benji and I weren't married, not together, but or together, we could stay here all day.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is feed me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things that I think is a good measure of our success is something that just happened recently. We were able to hire 2 new employees, and I want to come back to this.
Sure.
So cue me up on that.
Yep.
But we hired 2 new employees that allow Brenda and I now to take that step back, so that we're not necessarily always at the front line, and she and I can sort of celebrate some of that success by taking a day off and maybe seeing a movie or read a book or do
Couple
things.
spa.
Yeah.
Couple spa day. Couples massage.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if the store continues to succeed even while we've taken that step back, I think that's the true litmus test of you've got it. When we opened, I think we were in the black on month 3.
Oh, wow.
It was an incredible,
On like a month-to-month basis.
Yeah, for sure.
Not like overall, but
it was ups and downs, but
So you had positive cash flow, huge deal.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
And Brenda was really good with maintaining that cash flow so that we were always growing. And that's one thing about being an entrepreneur. You don't get rich right away. You've got to invest, and you got to cut some corners on your personal life to make the business work. And Gary Vee would, talk your head off about that kind of thing. You got to live the passion and let the passion be your food, because you're not going to be eating steaks for a while.
Yep.
And Brenda and I were really good with that. And of course, we have a great support structure from the families. And a couple of times when we were looking at the bottom line and we got worried about things, like a couple of bills hit us all at the same time. Air conditioner went out, and the dogs needed surgery, and just
It's
one of
always
those
at
months
once.
where we got a punch to the face, left, right, and center. And it was year 2. And
it was actually last November.
we thought we were in the clear. We thought everything was going well, and then we got hit with these hits. And the thing that broke the camel's back was we were walking the tables and listening to people, and we heard a couple of people saying that they were going to buy gifts for their people
For Christmas.
On Amazon. And we thought, here they are sitting in our tables, and they're enjoying the things that we've made, and they don't.
Your stuff they're not paying for. They're at your tables and your air conditioning and your lighting and
Our
those are
board
things
game
from
library.
Yeah. You pay to rent?
No, it's
Yeah.
free.
So it
It's
is.
free.
They are at the bar and talking about how they're going to get some beer delivered online.
Yeah. So we were like, that's kind of annoying.
It made us feel pretty yucky.
Oh, no kidding.
So Brenda composed a post, and we put it out, and we basically said, hey, Christmas is coming up. If you wouldn't mind, buy a gift from us,
One of your
and
gifts
then
here.
settle up those special order accounts that we have behind the table for you, and sort of just consider us when you're going to shop in the future. And the community just rose up.
Yep.
Oh my God. The outpouring of not only monetary support, but the emotional support and all these great ideas that they started flowing us, saying, hey, have you guys considered doing all this stuff?
Well, and I think for sure, like if you ever said XYZ, we're going to have to close our doors, and so many do, you'd have to, you would have a huge call to arms.
One of the things also, I mean, you mentioned it before, taking input from your community that you have here. One of the biggest things that I saw was, well, I could tell you didn't want to offer online sales to people because there was some pushback on the post, like, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. There's a lot involved with that. Obviously, e-commerce is the worst, but and you didn't want to lose what you had here to some vacant.
There's no relationship
space.
there, and you're competing with Amazon again in their turf. I don't know if that's really the best place to put
you
money.
will lose every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't take on Coca-Cola, what are you doing?
We've found a good middle ground. We said, look, if you want to support us and you're not from here, we ship.
Yep.
We ship. Send an email to orders@nightwatchgames.com. Bam. I will invoice you. I will ship it to you. We will take care of you. So that's the good middle ground. But
Yeah.
if you were to be a store like ours and sell product online, you have to have a second inventory.
Right.
There is $100,000 worth of product on our shelves right now.
Yeah.
There is no second inventory.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's the one right there.
And
It's
worst
not
worst
a-
thing to have happen is to offer product X, right?
Right.
And somebody comes in to get it, and you're like, oh no,
Somebody bought
just
it.
Well, that's what I
bought
mean. You would
online.
have to have a second inventory because you can't take the chance that you're selling something online that somebody walks away with here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you wanted to come back to employees.
One of the things that we discovered when we built the business, and we're not business people, we're not trained as business people, we just have the passion, and while she has a lot of business experience, we never did anything academic.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a degree in it or anything. So we're discovering a lot of
Super
these...
overrated, just FYI.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
what you're doing,
And that's
no
exactly...
business degree will get that grade.
Yeah. We realize that there's a couple of core things that make businesses successful. And one is the owners as people bring values to the table, right? Brenda and I being married, we have very similar values. We identify with the values that the other person has. And we built Night Watch games, and by default, the company inherits the very same values. And what we found is a company will attract customers that also hold those values or very similar values.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about religious stuff. I'm just
Or
talking about
politics or
basic
anything like that.
basic characteristics of good people. And if a customer was to come in, no matter how much money they spend, if they don't subscribe to the values that the company has, we just fire them. I don't care that you just spent $1,000 here. You don't fit into what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, there's some kickback on that and some one-star reviews and whatever, but what it is a long-term investment in building a community that is akin to what we feel is important. And that community feeds itself because it attracts people that have the same values.
Yeah.
And so then you have a non-gamer walk in and they get this vibe of a whole bunch of, quote, good people. And they're like, oh, this is my people.
Yeah.
And they just feed it, and the community just blows up. And all the stereotypical gamers that, you know, we heard about, they don't feel comfortable here.
Well, and so I was going to talk about that, right? I don't think I've ever, maybe if Bill Miller is different, but I've never seen a restaurant turn somebody away unless it was hugely flagrant, right? But, because they make it work. But you're now taking what are a razor-thin business model. You've got a lot of investment, both in everything from product to real estate, and you're going to turn away a customer who maybe spends $1,200.
Yep.
How do you, I mean,
Well, keep in mind, we've done that maybe 4 times in 3 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't come up often.
good.
But I think the community fires people more than we do.
Yeah.
And they don't do it directly, and they don't do it offensively. It's just this feeling that somebody that doesn't subscribe to that value set, they just don't feel comfortable here.
Yeah.
And then they just don't come back. And there's some other stores around town where they do feel comfortable, and we're perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. Well, and it is like, because I've seen the same thing, and it's not, by no means, you're not exclusive, you're not dogmatic, you're not, strict, and you're not dictatorial and like this political view or this religion. No, not at all. That's not what
No,
you're
in
talking
fact,
about.
we
But it's,
prefer people don't talk about that
yeah,
stuff here.
it's completely what this unique scenario is super ineffable,
Yeah.
right? It's like, how do you really explain that? But it is an interesting thing to discuss in any business model to turn away a client.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it'd be awesome if you guys just carried like 3 comic book titles, but at some point you make a decision on this is who we are and this is what we're going to stay true to. And we're going to have faith in that. Now, no doubt, right? The fact that you're in the black within a few months and running a positive cash flow, like that is huge. And so you're getting these votes of recognition. You've got, the best gaming retailer in North America. That is by your peers, right? So I forget the movie awards where it's like the peers vote for each other, which is way more meaningful than
People's choice.
People's Choice
Right.
Awards, right? And so you think through it, you're like, man, you're doing everything right. And we've sat here and talked for an hour, and I still, it would be difficult to replicate. I don't think you're like, well, I'm just going to go get all my grandma's furniture. Because all my wife's style is like super modern, right? So that's not going to fit.
Yeah, no,
and so I'm going to get all this antique furniture, and then I'm going to get some space. I'm going to put $100,000 into some games, and then it's going to be, get a couple of dogs. I'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
And you would fail.
I think the piece that's missing to all that is that value set. That you have to, as an individual, believe in something and pursue that something to the sacrifice of all the other things. And not to sound too dogmatic about it.
Well, anybody else would tell you you're being unwise, marginally insane, that's a bad decision. But
we hear a lot of
stick
that.
to it.
Yeah. We get laughed at a lot, and we sort of get the last laugh, which is high fives for us. But a lot of our contemporaries say that's the dumbest idea I would ever do. Why would you not? Why would you not allow people free private rooms to game in, or just all sorts of weird things that we knew we had to change the sort of the system in which the business model was working under. And the secret there is we're not dealing with the same clientele that we were dealing with 10 to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Totally different people now. We're dealing with white-collar workers that want to play games that they used to play as kids, and now they have the time and the money to do that, but they didn't like the culture.
Yeah.
And so you have to make the culture different. And I think that's the key. And you talked about modern furniture that you had and it wouldn't fit. I would disagree.
Okay.
If you use modern furniture as your theme and you make that whole place very modern, everything about it was modern, that's that escapist boundary that people look for. There's a couple of stores in town that I really wish they would do something with their theme because it's so ripe.
Yeah.
There's just some really good stuff out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think a big part of it is knowing your value too. Like, this room adds value to the gaming experience, and it's worth every penny.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when we were playing, I had the iPad out in front of me, and I put campfire settings on, and so that was the ambient for the adventure that was going on in the evening, and then a storm broke out.
Yeah.
And it completely changed the way that everyone, like, I remember, I think it was David. He is not a gamer at all, and he had started playing Dungeons and Dragons because he was invited. So when that was happening, he like stopped and looked around. He was like, "What is happening right now?"
Yeah, you have been teleported.
And
You're literally in a
he
storm.
left the room as a gamer.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
100%.
That's it. You're
He played with us
converting.
for years.
You're converting, yeah.
Well, I think it's such. I mean, what you guys do is just spectacular. I think you're doing it the right way. I think that how your approach is not unique in the sense like, oh, this is revolutionary and clever beyond belief, but it's the execution that's done so well and how true you stay. This, yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
kudos. Blah blah.
Right.
So, what big hurdles do you guys wrestle with as business people who are in the grind daily and in a tough business, where you're up against 100,000-pound gorilla of Amazon?
Sure. Yeah.
I can get things faster, cheaper, and whatever I want.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel like? You're like, this is our, this is what we go to war with. These are our big obstacles. These are our enemies. Enemies may be bad,
Obviously, a
word
major
choice.
hurdle is endearing ourselves to people so that they don't want to buy from Amazon.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get to know everybody. There's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
So the place helps, the ambiance, the community helps. The community helps a great deal in that they'll hear somebody saying, and they'll say, don't get that from Amazon. Just walk right up there to the register.
Yeah.
They'll order that for you.
We'll hear customers actually sort of exercise their peer pressure, and they'll turn to somebody else and they'll say, hey, you've been gaming here a couple hours.
Go buy something.
Have you bought something yet?
Yeah.
And then when the person says no, I mean, there's some pressure there.
Yeah.
And while we are certainly not pro-selling, we don't like the idea that we're salesmen. That's not what we're doing. We just want to make games available for people, and we'll just make a transaction so it happens. but we don't like selling stuff because we think that the games sell themselves.
Yeah.
They're
We
such a
actually
good product.
train our employees to greet somebody when they walk in, give them a second to get into the aisle that they're looking for,
Yeah.
and then to walk up and say, "My name is XYZ.
Yep.
Let me know if you need anything." And
Well,
that's it.
It's a big Gary. I forget it is Gary
Vee.
Gary Vaynerchuk, yeah.
But it's that, hey, I'm coming into a space that was probably pretty chaotic. I just got done, like, you guys have great parking right next to your door. I just got done driving a 2,000-pound machine 70 miles an hour. Give me 40 feet to chill out,
Yeah, that's
before
exactly
you
right.
descend upon me.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's funny that you would say that because one of the reasons we chose this location above all others is because it's not on a major thoroughfare. Blanco is a street. I mean, it's a nice four-lane street, but it's not I-10. It's not 281.
Right.
It's not 1604. It's not a major highway. So people have a chance to get off the highway and start to decompress.
Yeah.
It's in a floodplain, which means it's beautiful and green. And for a mile in either direction, it's trees and green and one-story tall buildings.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's just a nice little quaint area.
Oh, the architect we use for our current company lives a mile, or he works a mile and a half away. On Blanco.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a couple of sites that we were looking at that physically looked well, but then we realized that the last thing we wanted were gamers, especially getting ready to do a competitive event, coming off the stress of driving the highway at rush hour and trying to get to the tournament at 6 p.m. And they got to set up their stuff, and they're all amped up. And we don't want that competitive energy being transferred into, anger or frustration at the game table. And so we thought it'd be nice to have an out-of-the-space location where, as she said, people decompress, and when they get into that competitive mindset, it's coming from a more balanced background.
Yeah.
And we also have a funny little policy. It doesn't get exercised much, but to keep that competitive edge down, because we sell Renaissance clothing and gear, we said if you show up to the tournament dressed up in a costume, your entry fee is half off.
Oh my.
And I'm actually even going to go so far as to say your entry fee is totally waived.
Yeah. If you would offer that for your gaming rooms, I would dress up. You would be shocked. I own, and according to my wife, an insane number of swords.
Yeah.
All of which I need.
Exactly. It's legal to carry those now, so there's no worries.
That's right.
The great state of Texas. That's right.
We're in Texas.
Well, good. So you guys are going to have, so what's your presence at PAX South? PAX South in San Antonio is where it's held every single year. You guys have a presence there. What do y'all do?
So far, we've just attended as patrons.
Yep.
But this year, we decided that we would like to have a booth there. So I've reached out to the people at PAX South who have told me, stop talking to us.
Yeah.
We're not ready to talk to you yet. They're not taking applications yet
Do not stop.
for vendors.
wheel.
But I mean, as
You
Pork
keep ordering
said-
that brisket, it'll
as
come.
Pork said, my nickname is Bulldog Brenda. But I don't bully people. I just keep following up. That's the secret to business.
It's not
Follow
bullying if
up.
you say please.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's what I try to tell Pork. I'm like, will you please take the dogs out? And he's like, can I say no to that? I'm like,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah.
How
So-
would you feel if you said no?
So
You
that
could
is the
try.
plan, is for us to
Yeah.
have a 10, 15, 20-foot area and have a booth where we bring some of our product and just show people. Last year, I was working the Roxley booth because we're just such huge fans of that company. And
Yeah. What is Roxley?
Roxley is a publisher. It's a publisher, rather, and they publish games like Dice Throne,
Oh,
which
okay.
was a huge award winner last year.
Yeah.
Santorini, Steampunk Rally. Sorry, I'm coming up short on
Yeah.
Super Motherload. Anyway,
Yeah. So analog game publisher.
great games, right? So they came down, and it's a funny story actually. They called us and just said, "Hey, we're looking for a local game store to help us organize the delivery of some chairs, because
Nice.
PAX is just
Right.
they just charge a lot, and we just need a few." And we were just hoping that somebody could be our friend, because we're from Canada and Washington, and we don't know anyone there. And I said, "You're talking to your number one fan, so I will help you."
Yeah.
And he said, "Do you know of anybody that could just help us work the booth?" I said, "Me. I want to do it." You know. And that's it. That was the beginning of a long friendship. So
Yeah.
they're great guys. And
But y'all should partner with them, get a big booth.
well, they have a big booth. They actually, it's funny because the first year that they went to PAX, they were in the indie area. And then the second year they were on the game table side, so that was good. And they had a big booth, but they had maybe one or two little demo tables where you could learn the game. And they were
Right.
mostly just doing it words. They were just telling people about the game.
Yeah.
Last year, they had 12 demo stations.
Yeah, it was huge.
A board game had 12 demo stations,
Wow.
and me and a bunch of the girls from Ladies Night, actually, that I have a Ladies Night that I run here.
And what day and time is it?
It's on Thursday. Excuse me, every other Thursday at 7 p.m.
Yep, but
So-
it is advertised on your Facebook page,
Yes,
right? Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So, but I reached out to a bunch of the ladies from Ladies Night who I know are teachers by trade, and I'd been teaching them games, and they've been helping me teach games. So I said, "You guys are great teachers," and
Yeah.
so we went out, and about 6 of us went out and added to their booth, and we were just demoing all day long.
That is awesome.
It was great, and they did so well, and they sold out, not
Yeah.
because of us, just because the game is amazing, and Manny and Nate are genius.
Yeah.
They're great guys. Anyway, so we told them this year we're actually going to have a booth, but we're definitely going to still support you with any organizational help you need, and also
Yeah.
bodies, you know.
Yeah.
Right, that's
People to
huge.
help.
I mean, people fly in from all over the world for PAX.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
just to have someone here local, just that's
It is a
enormous.
huge-
Yeah, so that's our plan, is to be our own store there.
Yeah.
One of the feathers in her cap.
Are you going to sell Renaissance stuff there? Because there is a huge glut at PAX. It's mostly gaming.
Yeah.
But I have this
Enormous.
thing of like, okay, I went to a con, I need to buy myself a sword.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is where most of them come from.
Well, one of the things that we do as a company is we always look for what is not being serviced.
Uh-huh.
What's the gap?
Yeah.
And then to fill that gap well, so that there is a demand, or we create a demand if there was not a demand before. And that's exactly what we're going to do, is
Right.
show up with suits of armor and Renaissance clothes and weapons and all this kind of stuff. Hopefully
And those indie games that don't get, you know, everybody carries FFG, everybody,
Yeah.
because
Right.
they're great. Everything they touch turns to gold.
Yeah.
So that's going to be covered there.
Settlers of
CMON Games is going to be covered there, you know. So we're gonna bring out that selection of board games that's not at
Yeah.
every station.
Are you going dressed as what you dress for your anniversary dinner?
No,
attire?
and typically I hold down the fort while they run the shows because I'm attached to two fluffer
Yeah.
Of
butts
course.
here they have here.
Yeah. They are awesome dogs.
Brenda hates dressing up.
What?
Yeah, that's the one complaint.
Yeah.
So I am the back of the house. Okay, I am the back of the house. Pork is the front. If this were a restaurant, I would be the master chef, and he's
Yeah.
the sommelier.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm better behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's it.
She
You
looks
can
better in the chainmail bikini than I do.
Not so
Although
much.
not practical, right?
There are currently no pictures of those online,
No.
so
And
don't try to
and
Google
I did
that.
check. You guys are all out of the chainmail bikinis in the back.
Yeah, it's a hot seller.
Put that on, or not put that on. Put it on your purchase list.
Right.
Brenda. Now that I've been inappropriate.
Phrasing
What else do we
is-
want to cover? Do we want to cover anything else before we wrapped up?
I think it.
Yeah, we
we've
could
got
talk forever. So
Yeah.
we will shut up now.
Yeah. No. So night watch games, fantastic. Everything you could ever want within easily 100-mile radius. Well worth your time. Well worth your
Right.
space.
If you want
Huge
any
plug.
more information, there are events that are posted on Facebook on their website, and the gaming community here obviously will answer any questions if you have them. So
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, I don't end yet. How have you seen things increase with things like Critical Role, all these
Oh my
different
gosh.
streaming services? I mean, Dungeons & Dragons has, and D&D Beyond, they have their own streaming games now, right?
Yeah.
How have you seen that increase in the RPG realm?
It's on fire. The D&D 5e is a product that flows out of here like water. The type of gamers that are coming in to order it is a totally different demographic than before. We have more female gamers playing those games than ever before.
Yep.
And the whole idea of being a role player is so now mainstream acceptable that whole product line is on fire. And of course it bleeds over to other publishers. We've got tons of them that we could talk. We have like shelves and shelves of role-playing games that are
Yeah.
really cool to play.
Paizo's still alive and well, right?
Yeah.
Pathfinder is
Yes, they
still
are.
doing its
Pathfinder,
thing.
Starfinder. We're playing a a game called Zweihander.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've heard that's super dark and gritty.
It
and
is.
Oh,
Is
we
it?
are enjoying the hell out of it.
It is. It's a American-made company, but he used Zweihander.
Daniel Fox is the
Okay.
maker's
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
So what's the genre? Is it a contemporary?
Grim
modern?
and Perilous.
Grim and
Okay.
Perilous is the name of the company, and also the flavor of their games. It's very if you imagine Gotham City
Uh-huh.
and you mix it with Mexico City,
Okay.
and you have this very dangerous, kind of corrupt setting that your character is not trying to become
Be the hero.
heroic. They're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And we're talking about surviving a knife in the back alley. And the reason why you're in the back alley is because you have no money to go down the main street, and you're just in the dirt. You're
Yeah.
just really gritty dirt, and your world that you care about is just you and your body.
Yeah.
And the world is out to get you, and as soon as you start succeeding, you now become a have, and all the have-nots are targeting you, and you just try to survive.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
It's really gritty. If you imagine, being a normal person in Gotham City, and Batman's doing his thing, but you got all these criminal elements that just prey on the weak.
Yeah.
That's Zweihander.
Oh wow.
It's awesome. We had a
That's
great
the
time.
next purchase.
So
on my
you've
list.
seen all the streaming, all of it just explode. It's been great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You see that continuing to go?
Yeah, I think so. The production value, and especially things like Critical Role and some of the others, have really raised the bar of what it is to be a role player. There's a bit of a problem there because what you see on the video are actors playing the game, but they play it with a full consciousness that there's an audience. And so their delivery is different. It's more of a production. Whereas if you get a group of friends around the table and you have effects happening and everyone's drinking their Cokes and chips, you have a more, I would say, down-home, authentic is the word I want.
Yeah.
Authentic play experience where they're celebrating the game. And it's not for an audience somewhere else. They're celebrating it with friends. So there's stronger bonds being built. It's more intimate experience.
Well, and we've talked about this recently. It comes down to trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're sitting around with a group of people and you're trusting that right now with the door closed, you can play your half elf bard and you can be silly and you can sing and you can embarrass yourself and be vulnerable. And when that door opens, they're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
They're going to take care of you and not exploit what you just did or make fun of it because you did it in the privacy of your game session, whether it be out in the main hall or in a private room. But these are your friends, your compadres.
We talked about maybe before is like this bullying thing, right? And I think we got education and stuff like that. We should be more accepting. The reality is, I think you don't fight it from a defensive position. You fight it from an offensive position, which is not. It's kind of antithetical. It's not head on. It's we're gonna compose these groups of individuals, and then we're gonna make it okay for them to be and who to be and to play these stereotypes that people make fun of and then celebrate it. And I think that's part of the key, and that's so huge. And I think guys with like Critical Role, one of the things that's awesome is they will rarely break character.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you lose sometimes when you watch some other streaming services or games, is that there is a lack of immersion. Whereas in that scenario, you're almost watching right actors playing.
It's a production,
Well,
for
there's
sure.
a script element to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think that, and they understand it goes as well when there are voice actors, that helps. But, we're going to have an accent. And it doesn't necessarily, it's not a Scottish accent or whatever. It's I'm going to talk louder, I'm going to talk quieter, I'm going to, I think that's a big deal.
Sure.
And being able to just loosen up, man.
Yeah,
people,
loosen up. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you do that with people you don't trust?
Yeah, hope
You can't.
at Night's Watch you can.
Yes. Yeah, you
Well,
can.
not trust, but don't know, for sure.
You said something else that we really promote is because the industry is exploding the way it is, you have more selection of who's going to be your play partner than ever before.
Oh, yeah.
There's no demand that's not being met now. So you can be selective about who you game with, whereas before we had to sort of just accept whoever was at the table because that's all we had.
Yeah.
So we're big proponents for firing those people, that don't take care of your game. And because there's somebody out there that will.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a game group.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we really facilitate that kind of thing, and we really promote those mediocre players or those negative players to just
Somebody's
get
having a good
lost.
time in the dark ages.
The
man.
next room.
You know, I think one of the things that you had just touched on was the, you know, and I've seen all kinds of different players out here. I'm terrified to play, and this is on honest truth. Like, I love Warhammer, but it is so incredibly overwhelming to me that I'm like, I'm not gonna bum somebody out by having them teach me how to play, which I know I could solve here. Blah blah blah. It's my own issue. Reality is, the nice thing is, you're like, oh, geez, I got to play with Billy, and Billy's so freaking competitive.
Yeah.
And then Susan's like, look, like, why didn't you paint your minis? Like, all you did was dip them in a dark wash.
Yeah.
Like, come on. You know, and now it's you can find those people who are competitive, people who are, we're going to do immersive, and we're going to have the terrain, and we're going to, you know, and then there's others that, man, I just want to blow off some steam, dude. I don't care if half your battle or half your army's not painted.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, for me, it's the easiest way to identify with different types of players, and you can find them here, and that's what's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's easier to find them because we have this great community page called Night Watchers. It's a Facebook page, and it's your page.
Yeah.
It's the customer's page. And we moderate it a tiny little bit, but that's where you can say, hey, I'm Billy, and I have an unpainted army, and I've only got 300 points, but I want to play. And who wants to meet me on Saturday with these expectations?
Yeah.
And Susie will say, hey, I'm in. I don't care if your minis aren't painted.
Yeah.
And they'll show up, and they'll just meet each other here, and it happens.
There's a guy here who I would see when we had our, was it Tuesday night? I think it was Tuesday night.
Tuesdays.
And he would paint his army here, and I thought, not in a million years could I paint my army here. I would spend so much money. Like, it would be insane. Like, you know, and I saw it was pretty noob. And you're like, you know, you don't just have to use a null oil for your shadows. Like, if you look at a purple robe, it's actually got like a droopy
Purple
value.
shadows.
Yeah, shadow. And you're like, I never thought about that. And then I found that out, and I was like, they make every kind of shadow. So I'm sitting there watching this guy paint, and I was like, no way, I would go bankrupt.
Yeah.
It would be insane.
Yeah, there's been so many like experiences where just interactions with people who are here while I am doing my own thing, and like a couple was playing a card game and they just put it down so they could just watch our game while it's going on. I'm like, this isn't weird at all.
Well, and you know, Benji's a stellar DM. He does a lot of great voices, and he's got a lot of engaging, and that allows to set a tone when you've got a group of people who may or may not feel comfortable like that. I have a plenty healthy ego, so I don't have a problem doing a bad accent. But the, you know, there's so many, again, like so many just great products, whether you're playing Magic or some other kind of, you know, collectible card game, or, you know, like, I'm super stoked about the contrast paints, you know, from GW. Like, I can't believe, I'm like, why didn't they've been holding out on us for sure for decades? They've had to have had, like, what a smart idea. So you guys carry them all. It's great, wonderful store. One of the best I've ever seen in my life.
Again, I want to really emphasize not the products, because again, Amazon does the same thing, and you can find all those things online. What we really provide is that community that speaks your language, takes care of you, has the values that you have, and they will celebrate your life, and they will support you on your downs, which sounds really emotional, but to illustrate, I think, the power of Night Watch games is we've had a baby shower, we've had multiple birthdays, we've had 3 proposals. The gamer got on his knee and proposed to his wife.
Here.
We've now had a wedding.
If Benji ever marries me, that must be what occurs.
That'll be it.
There it is.
In the Renaissance room. It's just so
We've had
remember.
anniversary parties. We had a wake here.
Oh, really?
A memorial.
We lost a customer.
Wow.
He took his life, and his family said this was his happy place. And so we closed the shop, and they had their wake here.
Holy cow.
So it's the
That
full
gave me
circle.
chills.
Yeah, it's the full circle of life, and it's not just a place where you get products. It's a community that is very supportive of their own, and it's very easy to become part of that own. I've got story upon story of people coming out of the woodwork to support somebody that they didn't know, and the only thing they knew was they were a night watcher and they were in need.
And you have that in 36 months. Like, what are you doing in 36 years?
Yeah.
We can't
Can
imagine.
you know? So, first of all, you need to figure out the, how to live forever kind of thing. So, becoming a lich is an option.
We're on that.
Right? You might need a different hoodie for sure. But and I've tried to end this thing twice now. But the thing I was going to ask, because there's a couple of places, so I traveled for work and did some different stuff. And so I was in Colorado one time, and there was this place called Fantasy Grounds, and they did like coffee shop. Have you been there?
We've heard of them.
Stellar,
Sure,
right?
sure,
Stellar, a lot like this. Pretty good little selection, but you can buy a panini and a frappuccino, and you can play some games. And I thought, this is like, from a business standpoint, it was genius.
Yeah.
I was like, you've got a mom, right, who was like, great, I'm gonna do the bookkeeping for my house. For her, like, balance my checkbook. I'm gonna make my calls, and then guess who buys a lot of games for people who are under 18?
Yeah.
Moms.
Yeah.
It was genius. Anyway, but is there, and there's a couple of places in, I want to say Seattle, when I went to PAX up there, and then a couple on the East Coast where they don't really sell board games. They just sell something. The bartender, the cheers, right?
Yeah.
Is there a model? Is there a business opportunity for somebody to seize that and to not capitalize on the product?
There was
Because
that.
it's community. Community is
Yeah.
what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right?
And the community, I'm going to come back to it, is based on the value system. It's not just people that like games. It's a certain people that like games, but they also behave in a certain way, and they think certain things are priorities, and they pursue those to the detriment of their own comfort because they think that these things are important. Just quality of life and good character.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's not that simple, but a lot of retail stores in the past haven't taken that into account, and they just saw it as a cash flow thing.
Yeah.
If you spend money here, we will.
Pay the rent and stay open.
Yeah, we will deal with you, and that's what it was. And the industry is so robust now that we don't have to do that, and so you can cultivate a community that is progressive. It's
Inclusive.
and actually starting to use the term, we are exclusively inclusive, because there is a line that we will not tolerate.
Yeah.
And if you cross that line, we don't mind booting you out,
Yeah.
because you're going to get filled with 10 other people that are going to take your place.
Yeah, it's more important to keep the vibe.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same, for sure.
So that's what I would say to an entrepreneur that wants to pursue some kind of board game or a cafe, is have standards, not only in your business model and how you want to present your business, but have standards for your customers. And your customers long term are going to respond to that and say, you're taking care of me. You're taking care of me because you're building an environment where I can celebrate what I like with people that are celebrating the same thing, and there's acceptance, and there's a whole bunch of camaraderie happening, and we don't have to deal with that jerk.
Yeah.
Because you dealt with the jerk for us. And it becomes this reciprocated, well, we're going to take care of you. We're not going to shop on Amazon. We're going to shop with you because you're taking care of us.
Well, and let's be honest, right? So you buy a D&D book for $49 from you guys or whatever they go for now versus $28. It's $20.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, come
It's
on.
not even
man.
that low.
Is that what it is?
I mean, it's,
I do not buy
if
my
you try to
books
buy a
online.
book online, it's like 46.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny because every once in a while, customers will actually send me a screenshot of their Amazon shopping cart
Uh-huh.
and say, "Can you get this for me?"
Yeah.
And I always cringe a little because I'm like, okay, I hope the prices are not too much more because I can
Yeah.
see their shopping cart total.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what? Usually the difference is $1 or $2 if it's one item,
Good grief.
$10 if it's 4 to 5 items.
Yeah.
We're talking a $2 difference.
Another great question, right? So how do you guys feel about D&D Beyond, right? That becoming, so we have a subscription, I have a subscription, I own all the books, but I also have a subscription to D&D Beyond as well. And it makes it very easy to search, right? But I miss the tactile.
Yeah, yeah. I did my dissertation actually on what is the future of the printed book. And because there was so much cyber mediums out there, hyperlinks just had started to be a thing. This is a while ago.
Hyperlinks.
Yeah. And it's, man, you're going to go me.
They don't even call them those anymore.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's right. That's how old I am. It was the idea that is the book, does it have a future?
Sure.
And research says it does, because there is something about the tactile feel, and I think it's akin to the exact same thing about gaming. Does tabletop gaming have a future when we have computers and we can game across the world through a screen? I think it does, because there's something basic, something primary that we want, and that's a physicality, a proximity with the items that we're interacting with, and we respond to the touch, respond to the person across the table. So I think books are still going to be around. I do think that there is also a market for the digital. I also think there's a market for online gaming, and I think virtual reality is going to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
And Nightwatch Games is not ignorant of all that, and we're going to probably try to integrate virtual reality gaming experiences in a social context. So everyone's wearing their
The
headset.
holodeck.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that when you were talking, I was like, so, and I can obviously, you can tell you've done a dissertation because you've got organic, original thought in this. And so I'm thinking you're fine until the holodeck. That was like, until we can all be here in digital format, and not like in like little matrixy 1s and 0 formats. I mean, it looks like I am sitting next to Benji, but even then, there is something that is amiss to walking in and being like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I can't deal with life no more. And I'm going to forget about it for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The thing that the digital world is not going to let you do is have that authentic vulnerability of saying, this is me, you see me, it's the real me, and I'm going to talk in a funny British accent and pretend that I'm a gnomish tinkerer, and you're going to accept me because you're going to be talking in some Russian, dragonborn fighter, and we're going to love each other in this context of the game, and we're going to accept what it is. And it's so freeing as a stress reliever, but an identity getter and all this kind of stuff, that all that stuff takes away the real world stresses and the fears that we have as gamers. But if you have a headset on, you have a mechanical reminder that they're not seeing you.
Yep.
They're seeing a rendition of you, and while it's liberating because you can hide behind it, there's a part of you that knows they're not seeing you. And we want to be seen, and we want to be accepted.
Yeah.
And tabletop game lets us do that.
Oh, for sure. And how true, right? So my Tinder profile is awesome. It also is 10 years old and just my face, and then you find out that I'm 4 foot tall and, have a tail. Like, yeah, absolutely.
That was you I was texting?
Yeah, so
Oh.
swipe left next time. Anyway, and I think that is what you get in a traditional game store, right? It's a great, hilarious episode of Big Bang Theory, right? And they go to that comic book store, and that serves the exact same role.
Right.
Right? Now, it's different, obviously, but it's the same thing that I see, right? That you want to go there and you want to talk about, do you think, are you as a Batman or is it
Superman? Or, yeah.
And you're like, that, you better back, who are you talking to? Like, these are serious things we talk about, right? Or we're to talk about the merits of 4th edition versus 5th edition. And you and I, or THACO, you've been playing for a long time.
Sure.
We're going to talk about THACO. I'm a fan of THACO. And you and I could talk for an hour and a half, to the detriment of your business and my marriage, about the merits of THACO, right? And you can't do, you can do it on Reddit, or you can, but no, man,
personal.
Yeah. I completely.
One of the things that we do here at the store is we offer, dare I say, classes, but it's more like a community forum in which people can fill up the room, and you present an idea that might be a little contentious, and then you have discussion about the pros and cons of that idea. And usually the person leading the class has a pretty formulated opinion about it, and they have the platform in which to present what they think is the deal. But it really comes down to a discussion of those kind of things, and those are really actually quite popular.
The workshops that we host.
Yeah, we should probably do another one soon. One was the purpose of role-playing games and the potential of role-playing games, and why we hear a lot of games at the table and they're played in a certain way, and we sort of say, well, that sort of just sounds like it's a glorified board game, and it's not really taking into account what role-playing games can do.
Yeah.
And so I started building this whole theory about it. Got really kind of academic in my own head. but I wanted to voice it. And this was the greatest venue to do that, and saying, hey, I need some like-minded people in here with opinions and some experience, and I want to voice this opinion that's, again, somewhat contentious. Tell me what you think. And it just turned into the great conversation.
Yeah.
Actually, one of our store programs was born out of one of those workshops. It's called the GM's Watch. So it's night watch, and that's the GM's Watch, the Game Master's Watch. And we hire veteran GMs and DMs to provide high quality one-shots. And we sell tickets for it, and it's $10, and you get to utilize the private room and have a high quality one-time role-playing experience. And it's not just D&D, it's Starfinder, and it's Monster of the Week, and it's Journey in Middle Earth, and all of the different Adventures in Middle Earth. So it's a rotating sort of different RPG, and you can just grab a ticket and come in and have the experience, and then that's it.
Well, and I think there's a couple of different friends of mine have come to me with some ideas, and we've done some business plans, and it's this same idea. These are stellar, top tier, some of the best DMs I've ever seen. Everything from like Voices with Benji to like, hey, I'm going to run this one-room dungeon, and I'm going to have the terrain. Like that experience, $10. It cost me $12 to go to the movies. Done.
Yeah. Well,
and I get 4 hours
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah.
My wife's out of town.
The key is, again, to convert non-gamers into gamers.
Yeah.
And one of the big obstacles that somebody might be interested in role-playing games is that group around the table is vital. And if you get the wrong mix, it's the worst experience in the world. And they're never going to play a role-playing game again. But if you get the right experience, you convert them. And so we really wanted to doctor that first experience for people that were curious, but they didn't know enough people to play, or they didn't know how to play. And we coddle them. And we say, this is what role-playing can be like. And if you don't like this particular system, that's cool. But you get to network with the people around the table and saying, well, I like the way that guy played. I didn't really like the way she played. So I'm going to swap my number with him, and we're going to talk, and maybe we can get a game going later somewhere else. And
Many campaigns have been born out of our program.
Yeah.
Because eventually the same 6 people keep buying tickets.
Yeah.
They come right out of the event, and they go buy their ticket.
Yeah, for the next one.
And then I talk to the GM and I say, okay, what you have now is called a campaign.
Yeah.
Go forth.
Stop showing
Stop
up.
doing one shot.
Yeah.
We'll find someone else
You're
to be
free.
on GM's watch.
We'll survive.
Yeah.
So, what a great opportunity. That's genius. That's awesome. Yeah.
The demand was there. We
Yeah.
just saw that the demographic wasn't being satisfied with the normal way of interacting with gamers. And DMs and GMs have such a particular skill set, and there's so few of them that we really thought we need to organize these people and utilize them to, again, convert.
Yeah.
Convert.
Well, and even in the Dungeons and Dragons San Antonio Facebook group, there's like every day there's another person. Hey, I just moved here. I'm looking for a group to play with, and there's just a huge demand.
Yeah,
for
huge.
Yeah. I think the military, the transiency related to the military, I'm here for a couple of years, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Perfect. Done. Right? And so, and this is, Benji doesn't pay me to say this, but I've gamed since I was 11. I'm 38, right? So a long time. Got a lot of opinions, most of which nobody cares about and are wrong. But Benji's one of the best DMs I've ever had. Him and my oldest brother, who has 3 degrees and is way too smart for his own good, best DMs I've ever had. And I didn't really understand that. Like, how long have we known each other now? 5 years, 3 years, something like that?
Yeah, about 3.
And it was playing in Portland, and I struggled. You'd think with so many nerds, right? It's dark all the time. It's cold. It's raining. What else? We got to do something. And we can't, like, for our relationship, we can't play Monopoly anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And so you would think there'd be an easier way to find a group, but I started getting involved in Adventures League. I was working a ton, and I didn't. And so I went to like an all-night game, that Watsy had put together, and it was with the Adventures League. And I didn't know you try out to be a DM for them, and I was like, whoa! When I showed up and I saw somebody play, I was like, oh, I didn't. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had already been playing for 20-something years.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing what a good DM can do.
We were thinking, again, pretty arrogant of us, but we were going to vet DMs and give them a certificate that you are approved by Nightwatch Games. This was before the Gamma Award. I think we have a little more clout now. So
Absolutely.
we pin you, or we knight you. We even have a knighting ceremony and give somebody a certificate. But then we thought, if they go to another store and they start waving their certificate of Nightwatch Games validity, the other store is just going to laugh at them.
Like,
are you kidding? I think that sort of thing is key and critical. You know, and and you're right. It does need to come from like an arbitrary. Like it needs to come from Gamma to a certified distributor for Night's Watch, and Night's Watch is allowed to knight someone, right?
Is it just not weird? Since you've been gaming so long, didn't you just laugh at the idea of being paid to play the game?
Yes.
That is a real thing now.
Yep.
You can be paid to play.
You know what else? I remember there was a place, Thor's Hammer is what it was called in Austin, where I'm from. I was born and raised in Austin. And Thor's Hammer, they've since gone out of business, but I'd spent some time overseas and had come back and wanted to get into D&D, but it was 3rd edition, or 3.5 at the time. And I was like, what are feats? And where are all the charts? There are no charts here, right? We're on a D20 system now. So much had changed. And I called, at the time, I forgot what it was, but like I signed out the binder to get somebody to give me a call back. I got him on the phone. And I was like, look, I just want to come watch you play, right? Which now the whole industry's created. But I remember I just want to watch. And the girl's like, oh, nobody watches at D&D. Why don't you play? No. I am way out of my element. I just want to watch. And the idea of watching people play D&D, paying somebody to play D&D, like that, it's awesome. What a wonderful time to be alive.
It's just an amazing industry now. So what I'm picking up is, Benji, we actually have an opening in our game.
Nailed it. Nailed it first try.
I'm just saying. If you can say Zweihanda, you can.
Oh my gosh!
It's a crazy time.
You wouldn't even have
Do I get to
be
wield
the
as
game
Zweihanda?
master.
Yeah, you could
get to be a player.
For the first time ever, a player.
And I think though that what you guys are doing and everything there, right, is so key. Such a great opportunity to sit down with you guys. We really should end for real.
Well, yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes.
I do want to do a small shout out to the Nightwatch Games community. We could not do this as just two unique individuals. That community has been super helpful, and if any of you guys are out there, just know that we love you.
Amen.
Can't do any better sign off than that. So thank you guys so
Thanks
much
again,
for this.
guys.
Bye.